it said something like free Tommy right now. Right. And that gained a lot of support. And I had a number of people reach out and explain all that to me. But I don't think somebody like Tommy would have risen to where he's at now and gained the amount of support he had if there hadn't been so much corruption in the UK covering this all up.
Well, I think that may be true.
Because maybe he like I think that
may be true. And I also think on that point, just to jump in, I also think not only is that undeniably true, but also he has been deliberately amplified as a kind of bogeyman by the other side because they know he's so flawed and so damaged and so in many ways lacking credibility because of his extensive criminal record and so on. They're quite happy for him to be the front man having a go at them because they think it gives them a bit of a pass. I think that can also be true.
Yeah, agreed. As for Elon getting involved in it, I think that's probably a reaction because there's been so much jumping up and down about his life.
Admittedly, that man Tommy Robinson can dress. That man as we say, that man got dripped. That boy be dripped out, boy. Man, that man had the that boy had a North Face on with the Burberry, man. Oh man, he snaps. The man be snapping. So when they say, "Oh, he's a scammer" and all that, I'm just like, you know what? That boy is dripped out every time.
Islamophobia for the last 10
and dripped out means well dressed. He's very well dressed.
Ish years that if people in the UK, especially in the government and police officers, were actually scared to talk about what was going on for fear of being deemed Islamophobic, that's a huge problem. If we can't discuss child rape because we're worried about being called racist. Like I understand where Candace is coming from saying don't throw the racist term around. I do get that. And it's a slippery slope. I completely understand that. But I think what happened and what's going on in the UK is so egregious and so awful. Like I can't think of a lot worse than finding out about something like this, especially given it's been going on for so long. And especially even people who haven't been talking about it because of the fear of being called Islamophobic. I can't think of anything worse. So I can see why Elon's freaking out.
I agree with you. And I listen, I've discussed with Candace before this very lazy trait people have of apportioning that kind of label to anybody for absolutely anything to shut down debate. I've got to say, in the case of Tommy Robinson, I think he's an unashamed Islamophobe. I mean, this is a guy who, when I interviewed him, once I interviewed him, started waving the Quran around and just openly abusing everything about Islam. And to me, that is the definition of an Islamophobic person. So it doesn't mean there aren't people who aren't racist or Islamophobes or sexist or transphobes or any of those things. It doesn't mean there aren't any, but it just means you have to be careful about how you throw that kind of accusation around and that your primary motivation is not to shut down debate. I think Tommy Robinson was right to continue to highlight the scandal of the rape gangs, but he didn't expose it. And I also think there's a big self-interest with him in spewing deliberate lies about the Muslim community and constantly attacking Islam because it makes him money. And I'm very cynical about that. And I think that can also be true. Candace.
Yeah, I also want to add.
I actually want to see this documentary now. I actually kind of want to see it. It's like, all right, bro, what did he expose? Because I remember that he explained why this man's in jail. Like the court told him, yo, what you said about this Pakistani guy is false or whatever, or it's defamation. Don't say it again. All right. Then he makes a documentary and doubles down on what he said that they told him not to say, and they lock his ass up for a year in solitary confinement. I mean, I'm praying for the man, but goddamn.
Here, just regarding Elon Musk shifting gears and even speaking about that issue, you are correct. Obviously, I follow UK politics to some degree because of who I'm married to, and I will tell you that it very much seemed to me like he was drudging up this issue because he was getting so much backlash on the H-1B visa. So I don't really know how sincere Elon Musk was when he weighed into that issue at all. Suddenly,
no one's not.
Do you mind if I finish my sentence, Mikhaila? You've just been talking for a long time. Do you mind if I? There's not a time. There's not a time. Do you mind if I finish my sentence?
It's hard to address them all.
Do you mind if I finish my sentence? I feel like I've let you speak.
A bit, but go ahead.
Everyone's speaking.
Go ahead.
You mind letting me finish my sentence?
Go
Okay,
ahead.
thanks. Thank you, Mikhaila. So what I was just going to say is it seemed very much to us that he was just trying to shift gears because basically he was trending for almost 2 weeks over the H-1B visa, and he was doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down. And then suddenly he's just advising on UK politics. And like you said, this issue hasn't been going on forever. It was extensively covered by the mainstream media. It was not brought up by Tommy Robinson. We can have a discussion about what's going on in the UK. That's great. I'm glad that he has spotlighted the issue. But you are correct that most Americans are not up to date on what's happening there. So it did seem like a random shift. And Mikhaila, I do have to say, you say that you're not into celebrity culture, but the way that you respond regarding Elon.
And shout out Big Wave Dave. He said, utter filth requested a song. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Shout out Big Wave Dave. Got you.
Musk is very much like a Swiftie. I mean, you haven't even heard what I have to say. You're defending everything he says and does to the point that all you do is issue ad hominem attacks. I mean, your first response back when we were speaking about Elon Musk is, well, it must be an IQ.
And shout out to Big Wave Dave, man. We are 32 super chats away from opening the call-in line, playing the Tommy Robinson documentary. Let's go, guys. This is going to be a great stream. And all right, let me go ahead and bring that up. Until then, let's finish out this segment.
If people don't understand him. You keep just calling people stupid. People are racist. No, people are having a different opinion than Elon Musk. And you don't have to have a higher IQ than Elon Musk to have a different opinion from him. Quite frankly, I don't think he is the most socially sharp person in the entire world. He's done incredible things. We can definitely say that he is a genius. It does not make him right on issues of immigration spanning from here to the UK. It's ridiculous. I mean, he's not a king.
Mikhaila?
I think saying that Elon is upset about child rape because a bunch of people he doesn't really care about
That's not what I said.
Were flapping about the H-1B visa is ridiculous. And I think it's funny that you mentioned ad hominem attacks after you released a 26-minute video detailing my dad's benzo withdrawal and allergic reactions out on YouTube. It's just funny, like you're going after me for ad hominem.
Well, actually, look, now you mentioned that, I was going to bring that. Oh, well, hang on. I was going to bring that up. For those who don't know what you're talking about, let's play a little clip from that.
Oh, I didn't sleep that month. I didn't sleep for 25 days. I didn't sleep at all. I didn't sleep at all for 25 days.
How is that possible?
I'll tell you how it's possible. You lay in bed, frozen in something approximating terror for 8 hours, and then you get up.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, not
and
good.
This is from cider.
I feel like Joe Rogan is all of us. I'm listening to that and it doesn't pass the sniff test. I'm just going, wait, what, apple cider? You didn't sleep for how long? What are you talking about? He brings up Mikhaila, by the way, that's his daughter. We're going to get into it.
I mean,
that explanation does not.
She did poke all the holes in that story's logic. I mean, there was a hella holes in the logic, and yeah, she definitely was like, well, this question, that question. I mean, what do you mean? Like, how did he not go this long without sleeping? Like, that's damn near put him in. Like, that you damn near die. So what is he talking about? What, was he off methamphetamines or something? Like, what's going on here? And shout out last scene, says, I have no comment. I like both ladies' opinions. Well, now, Vlad, are you just saying that because they're both somewhat attractive? Or come on now. Come on, Vlad. Be honest. I'm just playing.
Make sense to me whatsoever. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not claiming to know how everybody's body reacts to apple cider, but I just don't think that you wouldn't sleep for that long because of it.
Okay, so
Mikhaila,
well, I'll come to you in a moment, Candace. Mikhaila, how did you feel when you heard about that?
Well, I think it's funny because, like, we're connected online, Candace. So if she has an issue with my family, she could literally just message me. Her husband has my husband's phone number, you know? So it's just like a weird thing to do. I don't know where it came from. As for the apple cider reaction, I've gone over this so many times, but it's fair if Candace didn't know this. Although I don't know why you would make a 26-minute video without doing some research. It wasn't apple cider. It was a sodium metabisulfite allergy. And it was near anaphylaxis. People don't sleep in that state. And when we went through that, which was horrible, it was horrible. We had a hard time with the medical system. We didn't know how to treat it. It took us like years to figure out what the allergy was. If you talk to a doctor and say you have that allergy, they go, what's that? Like, it's not a common allergy, but it's not uncommon. You can Google it. And it just seems a little bit cruel to like pull that up. You also started that video by saying, you know, why is Jordan Peterson's audience, male audience, like diminishing? Let's get into it, which is just, it's manipulative, right? It's not true. So you have this giant audience, Candace, and you say these things as if they're true, which confuses people when they're not. So I don't know what to say about it. It's aggravating, and I think it's a mean girl high school tactic.
It kind of sounds like it can't take the heat, baby girl. But I'm gonna be honest. I mean, let's be real. Jordan Peterson's a public figure. A lot of people talk ish about him. Andrew Tate done said some wild stuff about Jordan Peterson. She ain't say nothing about him. And he done said wild things about, well, the Jays, the tiny hats. And she still ain't say nothing about him. So it's kind of crazy how she's just, everybody want to double down on Candace for some reason. It's like, she ain't the only person who said that now. Everybody else was calling out him for this whole little drug addiction. Everybody was calling out him for having like, yo, so you're supposed to be this man talking about a strong mind and all that, but you done turned to pills. Like what is this, G? Like, whoa, yo, can you walk it and talk it as well, at least, instead of just coming out here trying to sound profound about it?
Not true. So you have this giant audience, Candace, and you say these things as if they're true, which confuses people when they're not. So I don't know what to say about it. It's aggravating, and I think it's a mean girl high school tactic.
I'm gonna be real with you. No, he did lose a lot of male audience because the man preached mindset, the man preached mental fortitude, but he turned to big pharma. It's like, yeah, you lost a lot of people with that.
Okay, Candace, you're a mean girl.
Again, accusing me of ad hominem attacks when I feel like she's engaging in them. Just to be clear and to contextualize this clip, Jordan Peterson was trending. I cover trends, I cover the news, and I think it's fair to cover topics when they come to the surface. He was essentially tweeting ad hominem attacks that were written like sonnets. It was very bizarre, and people were going, what's going on with Dr. Jordan Peterson? And it became a Twitter trend, and so I covered it. Is there something wrong with covering a trending topic? I certainly don't think there is, or I wouldn't have a podcast or things to speak about. Regarding your father's audience, there were a lot of people who, after his addiction and feeling like he was not honest about his addiction, a lot of men who sort of switched off from Jordan Peterson. I mean, that is just a fact. I understand and respect that it is.
That is true. That is very true. I'm one of them. Because I said it turned me off the fact that he tried to hide it. Instead, he could have came out on the strongest tip. Like, look, I done had some hard times. I done got on these. They done got me on these. So, like, you know, they done got me on these medicines that's effing me up. And I'm about to fight this. I'm going to come back 10 times stronger. I'm going to stop the medicine. I'm going to show y'all men how it's done. But no, he wanted to hide it like a bitch. Like, what?
Your father, and so you're naturally
respect to my man's intellect, but I'm be real with you, when it comes to his character, I don't know. Like, respect to his intellect, but I'm definitely doubting his character.
Going to be defensive of him, and if it was a family member of mine, I would naturally be defensive of him. But to
hold on, yes, dude, did I read out your oh yeah, shout out, yes, dude. He said Candace does not. Candace does need to be careful about ad hominem attacks. She started her career. She started her career starting a company meant to dox people. Social Autopsy. Man, I mean, yeah. Well, and she definitely, yeah. You ain't lying, but you're not lying. You're not lying about that. She definitely walked that back, but you're right though. You're right. Shout out, yes, dude. And shout out Utter Filth. He said, sent in, well, $5 in Norwegian money. Hey, appreciate the support, my man. Wait. Winds of Change, was that your video suggestion? I hit you up in Discord.
10, like I plucked the topic out of pure air simply to be a mean girl, and not because it was trending, literally saying that people are wondering what's going on with Jordan Peterson. I think that's you not being very genuine about why I was discussing it.
Dude, I like to make the argument that I think she's grown past that. Seeing that, you know, she's had arguments, you know, against that pretty much now. Because remember, you're right. She did try to accompany with that, but then also came out and after was like, okay, yeah, we shouldn't be doxing people. We shouldn't try to be exposing teenagers or students to get them expelled out of school because they have certain political ideas, all that wild stuff. Like, she was the main person, you know, speaking on that.
And I think that I was tremendously respectful. I also paid him a huge compliment. I think his book and what it did for men worldwide at a time when men were being completely stomped on and masculinity was being questioned. And I said I would never remove that and would never take the credit away from him. But there have been some things that have just registered to the public as odd. I didn't make your father trend that day. So I think he's able to deal with a little bit of criticism.
You want to respond, Mikhaila?
Boy,
I guess I'm just confused because Candace said she wasn't into celebrity culture. So then I thought maybe it was just a personal thing. If it's not about a celeb.
Well, he is a doctor slash, I mean, intellectual. Some people call him a pseudo intellectual or whatever you want to say. My man is pretty smart. So I wouldn't say more. I mean, he's a celebrity. Yeah, you're right. He's pretty well known, but he's more than just that, though. My man does have other accomplishments and other. I mean, he has a whole book, and he has philosophy that you can also tune into. So it is a bit fair to judge him on these things, and you can't tell her, "Oh, are you being a fangirl, following her, and all that good stuff?" I'm like, well, you know, I'd have to ask y'all that. What do y'all think on that one? And shout out, guess dude, she walked it back and secretly restarted it recently. Sounds shady to me. Candace plays every side of the deck that serves her, all pundits. My man, guess dude, has a distrust for all political pundits. I just can't trust him. Can't do it. And shout out Vlastine. Mental breaks are more common than you think when half of the public dislikes you. This just proves that even Jordan Peterson is human and has flaws. And that's okay. That's all that man had to do was come out and just say, hey, look, man, it's kind of getting to me, but I'm going to fight through it. He should have been transparent, but he lied. He tried to hop on the psychotropic drugs, and then what happened to him? He screwed him over. So, yeah.
Celebrity, but maybe I just got that wrong.
Damn.
I don't know
Yeah, I
what
think you
else
just
I
got
can
it wrong when I
respond to
said-
about that. People can listen to. Can I finish? Thank you. People can listen to the 26-minute. Like you can say, "Oh, I said something nice at the end." It's the same thing when you say these things and your tone is off. You can be like, "Oh, tone doesn't matter," but you say things sometimes in a bit of a manipulative fashion to get people to think a certain way. And then when people bring them up, you go, "Well, those aren't the words that I said."
Say things a certain fashion to get people to think a certain way. I don't think it was her tone. I think or the way she says it. I think it's about what she's saying that's getting people to think a certain way. It's like you're trying to sound like Candace got this mystical voice that every time she talks, it's just you believe whatever she says. It's like because it's Candace and she's talking. No, it's not like that. But hey, I guess that's how Miss Peterson would have you believe.
But tone matters too. Anyway, people can go on YouTube and listen to the 26-minute section of your video on Dad and see what they think. I think it's high school mean girl tactics. I don't care if you think that's ad hominem either.
Candace?
Well, I would just say that when I was referring to celebrity culture, I meant worshiping people because they're celebrities. So I think that would make me ideologically consistent. And like I said, he was trending that day. I covered it as a trending topic. It's not a mean girl thing, but it might feel that way to you because it's your father and you have a personal relationship. You know, I
can
apologize if you are hurt from me covering the news, but like I said, we have to develop a thicker skin when we're in the public. How many things are said about me routinely on a daily basis? If people want to cover after I have,
I mean, when people say she used mean girl tactics, I mean, it's not really mean girl. It's kind of, yo, grow the fuck up. It's like, yo, grow up. People talk shit. Get over it. It's like people make hit. There's more than people. Trust me. Jordan Peterson has way more hit pieces on him than just Candace Owens. Actually, if you want to be real, Candace Owens' hit piece on, I wouldn't even call it a hit piece or a critique on Jordan Peterson was lightweight compared to what you can find on the internet. Like right now, there's a lot of people right now that was just dumping on the man. Okay. So the fact that she didn't want to bring them up, but going on Candace, who kind of went lightweight, is crazy.
You know, an addiction. And people say, hey, after this, I think people lost faith in Candace Owens and that becomes a trending topic. I think that's fair game. It may not feel good to me, but I think that it would be fair game and it would be newsworthy.
Okay.
You do know that 1/5 of Americans are on psych meds, right? Are you aware of the statistics?
Yes.
And that's not a good thing.
Are those all people with
Correct.
addictions? Like, is that your
Yes.
Is that your view of people on psych meds just in general?
I mean, I would say about majority of them. Yeah, I would say about majority of them now do develop an addiction. Majority.
No, your father spoke out about his benzo addiction. So I don't understand why you're asking
Yeah,
me
no,
a question about people that take psych meds.
dependence. Benzo dependence.
Benzo addiction, which means that you're dependent on the drug. Like, bitch, I know I'm even going. I do hate when women mince words. It'd be like, girl, you know what? You ain't never just said that dumb shit. I'm sorry. Yeah, Candace is being nice. I can see why she bit her lip on that one because I'd have been like, but woman, he had a benzo addiction. And you're trying to say, well, benzo dependence. It's like that's the same thing.
Maybe you don't know anything about this. If you're on a psych med long term, you form a dependence on it and it's very difficult to get off of. They're starting to teach this in medical school. It's a disaster because so many Americans are on psych meds. So yeah, he suffered from psych med withdrawal because they make you form a dependence on it, especially long term. Now calling it an addiction as if he was on.
Bro, that is an addiction. I mean, like, okay, when you need build a dependence on it, that means if you drop it, you're gonna have bad effects. You're gonna feel like you need it. Yeah, you're now dependent on that drug. So that's a dependence. And then that's kind of like a scientific twist of saying, oh, well, we made you an addict, but we're not going to actually call you what we made you. So we're going to just call you a dependent. Like a dependent. It's like, what? Be honest with these people. You're making them cracked out. Okay, you're making them cracked out on psych meds. You're making them crack addict on psych meds. Let's be real. Not literally with crack, but y'all know what I mean.
Heroin or something is manipulative, So when we talked about it and we were very honest about what was going on, part of it was to spread awareness that 1/5 of Americans are on medications that cause dependence and don't know it. It's horrible. People die.
And shout out Mr. Doc Hill. He said, Candace, #1 rule, wear your helmet, people. Oh God, life's tough, wear a helmet. Like, hey, people talk shit, man. It be like that.
Because of it. So I think laughing about it is like, it's not cool.
It kind of is.
Well, I certainly don't think I laughed at it.
Well, it's not. I'm just playing, but it's not cool. But the problem is, he lied about it. Okay, why can't you just call your daddy out on the fact that yes, he lied about that fact that he had a benzo addiction. I don't know why you want to use that word dependent, but okay. But yes, he had a benzo addiction. He lied about it. That's a problem. He should have been transparent, but he didn't. I wonder why. Shout out Vlastine. It's true though. I have meds that if I quit cold turkey, it will literally kill me or cause horrible effects such as seizures and such. Yeah, it's true. I have meds that if I could, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's almost like, damn, yeah, you build that addiction to the point where your body needs it as a stabilizer. And if your body don't have that stabilizer, almost like a heroin addict, you'll be cold sweat, fever, seizuring up, all this good stuff. I mean, all that wild stuff. All right, let's keep it going. And shout out, appreciate the support, guys, and shout out Vlastine.
I think benzo dependence is pretty much a euphemism for
putting us at 25 super chats. We appreciate the support, Vlastine. That is 25 to open the call in and run the Tommy Robinson documentary. Let's go. And if you don't play on here, I'm gonna have to get you guys in Discord.
Certainly don't think I laughed at it. I think benzo dependence is pretty much a euphemism for an addiction. And if you know anything about my work,
that's
and
the problem.
And shout out Big Wave Dave. Yes, Vlad. However, you can move off them. Same with drinking too much. I'm telling you. I'm thinking the same thing. Like, you can move off them. You can find something else. It's like, I know people who done quit drinking with replacing it with, I don't know, juice or apple cider or something else. Like, some people say that, try not to quit cold turkey, but try to replace it with something. I don't know. That's just some things that I've heard. Like, I get his point. I get Vlastine's point. But it's like, damn, bro, when they when they hit you up with all them meds and now you have a dependence on them, it's like, damn, like they trapped you. It's almost like how, the people who sell crack do to crackheads. Some people are so devious with selling their drugs, they'll line it up in your other drugs that you buy. You're more, I guess, I'll just say it, man. They'll go ahead and put that stuff in the weed that you buy, and now you're a crackhead buying crack or cocaine. And now they just added another customer to the roster, just like Big Pharma.
Super crunchy And speaking about why I think medicines are bad, because they do create dependencies, which then yield people going onto the streets for something stronger. I mean, the benzo addiction becomes a heroin addiction because the doctor won't write you the prescription anymore. So you turn to the streets for something stronger because your body is dependent on it. I'm sorry that.
I mean, yes, I'm saying it's like if we can call a heroin addict an addict, right? He's an addict. And if he quits, his body gonna have that, gonna have those dependent side effects, right? Fentanyl, cocaine, you feel me? So yeah, when she used that word dependence, it's kind of it's dishonest. It's very dishonest. I'm gonna be real with you.
Again, you are offended by this conversation simply because it is your father. I don't think I've been offensive in my language. And if you find it to be manipulative, that I think that it impacted.
And shout out guest dude, man. I ain't gonna lie. He's our heaviest, the heavy spectic. I love it. He says, Candace is wrong. She is not a doctor. I get it. We distrust the medical community post. C19. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater now. I get what you're saying. He's like, now, we're not going to sit here and say that everything they come out with is BS. But now, guess, dude, when they come out with these psych meds, can we just sit there and say, damn it, the whole psych med thing is BS? Now, we're not trying to throw away every medical, like all medicine. We're just trying to think of, like, wild. I'm just trying to say we should kind of look a little bit to these like psych meds, the ones that mess with your mind, change your brain chemistry. Like those are the ones I honestly feel like we should just stop. Like that should just be stopped cold turkey. We don't need it. We don't need it. I'm pretty sure if we just focus on, I mean, honestly, good health in general, some of that's gonna fix itself. And shout out Seth. Wrong, especially with when you're on epilepsy med like me. If I don't, I'll have my epilepsy 4 times a month again. So I disagree. All right. So we're having an addiction versus dependence argument. I like it. Everyone, and shout out Big Wave Dave coming in with it. Everyone can be weaned off everything. Just because you have taken it for so long doesn't mean your body will always need it forever. That is true. Now, and that's it's almost like I said, like think about a heroin addict. When you take it away, you damn near gotta lock them up and let them go through them withdrawals. Some of them die, some of them make it out. It's almost like the craziest gamble you be playing with your life, and I wouldn't advise you doing that. Actually, I hope you don't. If you're on it, you're on it. It is what it is, but it's damn near the same thing. Like, just be honest with yourself at that point. If you're just like a heroin addict, if you take yourself off that, you're gonna have those withdrawal symptoms that you might survive, you might not. Most cases you won't survive, and for some of these more, I guess, severe conditions like Seth, like epilepsy, like if you don't take that medication, yeah, it's gonna be a problem. But that's a bit different now, Seth. Your epilepsy medication is a bit different because it's not effing with your mind.
Into the way that men saw him when they publicly were saying that on Twitter. We covered the tweets that people were writing on that day about how.
And shout out to my man, because don't worry, big dog. I did not forget about you. I did not forget. Utter filth. I know you thought I forgot about you, but I did not forget about you. Actually, I'm just grabbing your song. Where's it at? What the? Yeah. All right. Hold on. Let me pull it back up again.
They used to idolize him. They're so grateful for his book, but this is not the person that they knew. Again, I'm sorry you're offended by that, but it's just the reality of what happened. And I can tell this is a sensitive topic for you, but it is what it is.
I mean, all right, guess good argument, I guess, dude. But I would say that, okay, let me first read it out first. Some are needed, though. You can't just treat PTSD or bipolar disorder with diet and exercise. What about schizophrenia and psychotics? Now, I do like that argument that you posed. The problem is, though, all right, with bipolar disorder, now, do you really need the psycho drugs? I mean, or do you just really need like to work through it? Like, are you sure? Are we sure this is the only way to work with it? Or we just go with the first solution that was thrown to us? I mean, guess, dude, I'm pretty sure you know some different ways, or you've tried different ways to get over your PTSD besides going through, big pharma. And I know you don't trust big pharma as much as I do, so I'm pretty sure you know what I mean. But I definitely get your point. It's a great point. As like same thing with Steph. It's a great point. It's like there are some that's needed. But and I get where it kind of does hurt when I say that. Yeah, but you are kind of like, I know I'm not even gonna repeat it again because I get where it stings. I do get where it stings a bit. Shout out Vladstein. He says, so how does one solve the issue when they are genetically different in creating dopamine and serotonin? You know what, Vladstein? That's actually a good question. No, how does one solve the issue when they are genetically deficient in creating dopamine or serotonin? You know, Vladstein, that will require some deeper investigation. I've heard some things about mushrooms. I'm not talking about the tripping ones. I'm just talking about ones you can just regularly eat, help you with certain, production, with certain brain chemical production. I'm just saying. There's always a way. I don't know. Like I said, I feel like we're just taking our first option and running with it. Like, think about it like this. It was like, remember Dr. Sabi, the guy was out there curing, allegedly. Let me say this way, allegedly curing HIV and all that with, vegetables and fruits and all that good stuff. Maybe y'all should look into different alternatives instead of going headfirst into, big pharma. We all don't trust big pharma, but we do need it. We do need it for now. Like, maybe we should look into do some deeper research before we just say, oh, well, we need it. This is the only option that we have, because then again, we're just giving ourselves over to big pharma. And, what use did that do? You just gave all your power to these people. Hey, and shout out Big Wave Davey says, going to see a psychologist or a therapist should always be the first step and keep up with it. And I mean, shoot, yeah, you find a really good therapist or a really good friend, man, let's be real. Like, you could talk through most of that stuff, and it's like, all right, like, shoot, because I've dealt with PTSD before, because I've been shot in a robbery. I've been shot before, and I had to deal with that. There was no medicine for me because I was already on the Percocets for my leg. So I kind of do think that there's definitely a different way. And I mean, and it all depends on the severity of your PTSD, of course. But there is a different way of dealing with it. There just always is. There's always different ways to skin a cat, as they say, right? There's 100 ways or 1,000 ways. Well, I believe that there's 1,000 ways to cure yourself of PTSD. You just got to find a way and not just believe that big pharma is the only way. I mean, they told us that about education, right? And shout out Big Wave Dave. I will never agree with medication as the first, only, and end all answer for medical issues. I don't either. I mean, what the hell were we doing before it then? What were we doing before this? Before they came up with all these psychotropic drugs? What were we doing before they came up with the pills that play with your brain chemicals? Like, what did we do before that? That's the argument I really want to hear at that point, because I'm pretty sure we had something for that, or we just got, really we got the hell over it, or we just lived life, or you died. But using and think about like this, imagine all the wars that went down and all that good stuff and PTSD, like, what did they do then? Maybe we need to figure that one out as well, because maybe these drugs that messing with our brain chemicals is not the answer, and we know it's not the answer. And shout out Big Wave Dave. Just like they want to give all kids Ritalin or meds for being kids, man, that is crazy. I ain't gonna lie, they did try to do it to my little brother. But yeah, let me go ahead and read that over for you. Just like they want to give all kids Ritalin or other meds for being kids anymore. Everything has a medication these days, and yeah, that's why it's so hard to trust. But they're trying to medicate every single thing.
Now, if you want to twist that a little bit and be like, he's losing his audience because he's an addict, I don't really know what to say.
Okay. I think we've had a robust exchange about that, and you both made your views very clear. Let's slightly lighten the mood here. Turn to some cultural matters that have been in the news in the last few days. The Golden Globes last night, Candace, the host Nikki Glaser seemed to take us back to the good old days where you could roast the audience and nobody seemed to mind. Let's take a little look.
Good evening and welcome to the 82nd Golden Globes, Ozempic's biggest night. I am not here to roast you tonight. I want you to know that. And how could I, really? You're all so famous.
And we put people in sanitariums. That's what we did. Well, I'm not saying that's what we should get back to, but I do believe that there's definitely a different way of doing this. Like, there's definitely a different way than putting you guys on drugs and then thinking that that's the only way. Like, there got to be a different way. I mean, there's a different way with like certain medical conditions. Like, you don't got to use medication to cure fever. I mean, look, African tribes and the native tribes improve that. So who's to say the same thing with PTSD don't exist somewhere out there? Now, I'm not saying go take an acid trip or an LSD trip. No. I am saying that there's definitely other ways. Because I do see some of y'all having some wild suggestions in the chat. And shout out Guest Dude.
Is so talented, so powerful. I mean, you could really.
I don't know. It's really hard to think like guys, because like I've dealt with PTSD and I think everybody deals with it differently. So we all can pretty much say that, yeah, some PTSD stays and some PTSD kind of like wither away. And I say that's kind of how mine was. It's kind of like I dealt with it. I never took any medicine for it. I dealt with the fears and all that good stuff of it. I flashbacks, everything. And eventually I just had less of an effect the more the things happen. I don't know. Maybe I got too used to it. Who knows? It don't happen anymore, though.
Do anything. I mean, except tell the country who to vote for. But it's okay. You'll get them next time. I look out and I see some of the hardest working actors in show business. And by that, I mean your servers. Yes, give it up. They'll be bringing you your cocktails to drink and your food that you'll look at.
He said mental health and physical sickness are different things. And that's the thing, Dave. Like, due to my, I guess I wasn't really physically sick. Like, trust me, my femur was shattered. But due to my femur being shattered, I was mentally sick. I'll tell you. I mean, like, dog, mid-college, bro. Goddamn, lost it all gone. Opportunity gone. Trust me, that got my mental health going. Plus, I'm dealing with the PTSD, which sucked, but good times though. Because hey, I won't say good times because I overcame it though.
I made some digs about P. Diddy and freak out parties and basically gave him a good old roast. Is this a sign perhaps that post Trump's victory, Hollywood needs it's got to move with the times and get rid of?
Shout out Guest Dude coming in. He said gene therapy will hopefully sort it out once we have a full map of the neurological framework of the brain. Because I ain't gonna lie, that's because we still don't truly know how our brain works. We still don't truly know.
Of the woke crap?
I thought we did, though. I thought we had
I certainly hope so. I mean, I'm looking forward to the next election cycle because we couldn't have sent a stronger message to them this year. They brought out everyone they could possibly bring out, from Beyonce to Taylor Swift, to tell us who to vote for, and Americans firmly rejected it. I mean, I've never seen so much star power in any election of people coming out. I mean, they even tried out Eminem, and Americans just forcefully said no. And I think they're quite embarrassed by that, and they're realizing that they have no idea what's going on. They do not have their finger on the pulse of America, and that we are laughing at.
And shout out Guest Dude and Dave. We are 13 super chats away from opening the call-in line and playing the Tommy Robinson documentary. Appreciate the support, guys. Let's keep it going.
At them that Hollywood is no longer this sparkly, glittery, unattainable thing. For the most part, Americans think they're out of touch elitists who don't even touch their own door handles. So I'm happy to see that her jokes definitely, I mean, I just chuckled a couple of times. It definitely seems like it's not about just being angry that the country isn't listening to you. So good for her.
Yeah, I mean, Mikhaila, I thought it was interesting because since Ricky Gervais bowed out of doing these things, or was probably encouraged to, because they couldn't dare take the risk of him taking the piss out of people, it's been crying out for a host to come and do that, to just have a bit of fun. You know, the thing about the woke brigade that I find so unutterably boring is they're so joyless. Like, every single joke, they're so offended by. There's no room for humor anymore, because the whole point of humor is it sends up somebody somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with what Candace said and what you said there. I think everyone's breathed.
Hey, man, and shout out Floyd, man. He's trying to get us to that documentary. He said, man, 12 more, man. Hey, appreciate you, big BG Floyd.
A sigh of relief. And the people that were concerned for their jobs, so especially people in Hollywood, and I don't think that's an excuse for not speaking out, because they were just propagating like evil for years. So that's not an excuse. But now that their jobs aren't necessarily in as much jeopardy, people are loosening up, and I'm pretty thrilled with the direction we're heading in. Like, there's definitely problems. There's visa.
Shout out Fox Chase coming in with 11, man. Y'all about to give us a 10 countdown, I guess.
The problems. There's immigration problems. There's like people bickering amongst themselves.
They said this is our
there's problems, but I think we're headed in a really good direction. And I think Canada might be headed in a good direction too.
Well, I was going to ask you about Canada.
I'm excited.
Because Justin Trudeau has quit. And many people say, yes, it was down to policies, but also down to just the fact he was the most woke leader in the history of wokedom.
That just happened. I know that there was like talk a couple months ago about him stepping down and then nothing happened. But I mean, apparently it's true today, which is huge. I think most people can get, maybe most people in Canada can't get behind that, but I think it's very exciting. My only concern is I think the process after he steps down is Liberals get to choose another leader. So maybe they've learned something. And I know it's only for an interim period, and Pierre Poilievre is most likely going to take the next election, which will be so good for Canada. So it's very exciting. But I've never seen a prime minister. Maybe it happened when I was very, very little, but I've never.
And shout out, yes, dude. He said, for the record, I reject most of psychology. PTSD, for example, is too broad of a term. It needs to be broken down into different categories and branches. Yes, dude, I'm gonna have to get. I need your thoughts on that. I ain't gonna lie. I need your thoughts on that one. And shout out Big Wave Dave, baller alert. Poor people cheating. Big Wave Dave, bro, chill, man, chill. All super chats mean the same. You know, appreciate the support, man. Appreciate the support. And shout out, man. Last thing, does Mary Jane not alter your consciousness? Good point. Does caffeine not alter your mind's awareness? Good point. Addiction is a shallow word to use for people on antidepressants, maybe for anxiety meds or sleep aids. Man, I mean, great point. Great point. I give you that one. Great point. You and Guest do both. Great points on that. And shout out Seth. I think we
never seen a prime minister step down, so I'm not even sure what the process is after that happens.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it comes from within until there's an election.
Shout out Big Wave Dave. Loki agreeing. He's like, yeah, PTSD damn near needs to be put on a spec. Exactly. No, I agree to that. I could definitely agree to that. Because like I said, with my situation, my PTSD obviously wasn't as severe as Vietnam soldiers' PTSD. Obviously, all PTSD ain't the same. And all right, Big Wave Dave said, oh, yes, I agree completely. Same goes with the spectrum of autism. All right. And that was the last one by Steph. Shout out, Steph. We are going to go ahead and open up the call and appreciate the support, guys. Couldn't have done it without y'all. All right, man, let's go ahead and get this going. Please be patient while I set everything up in the back.
Candace, thing about Trudeau he was like a lot of woke people. He was an unbelievable hypocrite. When he wasn't lecturing about racial injustice, he was putting on blackface repeatedly. It's almost like there wasn't a moment in his life when he hadn't put on blackface to some party. And yet he felt he had the right, the moral right and self-righteousness to lecture us about stuff like race.
Shout out, guys. We said all psychology terms need to be on a spectrum. Facts.
Racial injustice.
Facts. Because I ain't even depression. I mean, you're right. But really, there should be a whole spectrum on that. You're right. Huh.
He just seemed like a bad faith actor from the very beginning. And I think Americans really got tuned in when we saw how the truckers were treated throughout COVID. That was absolutely ridiculous. And so I'm definitely glad to see him go. He's been a terrible leader. But sometimes, and this is my faith speaking, these bad things happen for a reason, because it does awaken us. It awakens us to how bad things really could get. And I think that he played his role. I call him Little Castro. He definitely played his role and played his part. And I think jolted Canadians and Americans into what's really happening in this region of the world.
Is that? I mean, it seems to be happening everywhere. Partly it's a rejection of incumbent leaders, where people are just now, I think, probably post-pandemic and
all right, Dave's on from that. I see. He says, "Bite me, eat my shorts, get the fuck out." It's like, damn.
Just lost.
Shout out Big Wave Dave. And that is a baller alert, man. Appreciate you, Big Wave Dave.
Trust in governments generally. They're angry, perhaps. They're impoverished by what's happened, and they want change, partly. But I also think there is an ongoing, pretty dramatic repudiation of wokery, you know, of what woke stands for. Wokery. People are just sick of it.
Absolutely. People are totally sick of it. And that's why I said, as much as we can hate these individuals, it took them being so radical. It took them being so left for most of us who were just kind of going along and saying, okay, this is totally fine, to realize how extreme things were and to fight for sanity. I mean, we needed the trans lobby and the trans people to come out and say women can be men and men can be women, for us to wake up.
And Big Wave Dave, shout out. He says, you all misunderstood my point, saying because someone has OCD, they are all on autism spectrum is BS. I mean, well, because you have OCD don't mean you're all like they put you on autism spectrum, on the autistic spectrum. Hold on, being OCD put you on the autistic spectrum is crazy. And Dave, I know you OCD. Trust me, I know. I can tell.
And stick our head up of the water and go, wait, what are you saying? What's going on? And so I welcome that. I'm glad that it happened. I'm actually glad even for the Joe Biden presidency. I know that's.
And he said, grouping stuff together in one group is wrong. Hey, shout out. I mean, I agree with that.
Sounds insane, but for people to realize that you can just fully have a puppet in office who is actually not doing anything, to start to question who's really in control of the government, because that wouldn't have happened if we didn't see the obvious mental decline of Joe Biden and wonder who are making those decisions. So all of these conversations, plus the independent media, is here because of the mistakes that were made throughout COVID and with these sorts of leaders at the helm of their nations.
Yeah, Mikhaila, we're also seeing right, and Mikhaila, and the mere fact that the three of us all have big platforms that are not conventional legacy media shows you the way that it's going and the way people are now consuming information. It's no longer being controlled by traditional mainstream media. It's being controlled, the message, actually by people like us.
And thank goodness for that. So that's true. That's one really good thing that came out of, like, I would say the last, I don't know, maybe 8 years, when it was extremely, extremely left and woke. I also think it's I suppose a good lesson in how far people will go along with something, you know, how far people will follow authority before they turn away. I was definitely surprised that it got to where it was. So say even the trans kind of mutilation, the surgery that's been going on with underage people in the US and in Western like society, I didn't really think it would get to that. You know, I remember when Dad started speaking out about.
And all right, call-in link is in the community tab, man. Yes, the call-in link is in the community tab. I'll go ahead and post it in the Discord shortly.
The trans debate in 2016, and I thought at the time that he was going too far. I was like, it's never going to, you know, I just didn't think it would get as bad as it did. And then we saw what happened with COVID, and we saw what happened with vaccines. Like, it got way worse. People can get pushed way further than I thought the average people could get pushed without pushing back. But I think that's a good lesson for at least people like me to learn, that you can push the average person very far before they start pushing back against authority.
Yeah, I think a lot of people actually have inherent common sense. And when Trump won, on the night he won, he made a very powerful statement of victory. But he also said that he felt at the core of bringing so many people together to vote for him from so many disparate groups was at the heart of what he was about was a core of common sense. I agree with him. Trump, whether you like what comes out of his mouth, the rhetoric, the style, whatever, his gut instincts actually normally are pretty sensible. You know, he wants a secure border. He wants not to go to war. He thinks that biological men should not be destroying women's sport, etc. These are not outlandish views. They're probably the views